Do you ever feel like you make money, but then somehow it just disappears? Like no matter how much you earn, you're still stuck in the exact same place? Well, I'm going to show you a simple system that most people tend to ignore, and that's costing you thousands of dollars each year. Hi, I'm Crystal from Ready, Set, Investing, where I help to empower you to take control of your finances. What I've had to learn the hard way is that if you don't tell your money where to go, it will disappear on things you don't even remember buying. And at the end of the month, you're left thinking, where did it all go? What system can be used to help eliminate this problem? Now, what if I told you that there was a system that allowed you to pay yourself first while balancing your financial habits, planning for the long term, and you're still able to enjoy your daily life? Well, you'd probably thinking, unheard of, but there's actually a system out there. You've probably heard it as the 50-30-20 rule. Now, what I really like about this method is its flexibility. If this split doesn't necessarily fit for your situation, you can always adjust it to your liking. Whether that be 60-25-15, it will still allow you to keep the same principles while keeping your expenses in control. It's one of the simplest ways to manage your money, especially if you're starting out. For a lot of my clients, I will always default to this process. It's always the best way for them to manage their finances. At least they know exactly what's going in and out of their bank account. Here's a simple breakdown of how it actually works. Now, if you're following the standard 50-30-20 rule, then the 50% goes towards your needs, the 30% goes towards your wants, and the 20% goes towards your savings and your investing, in other words, your future account. Now, when it comes to needs, the simplest way to view it is this. As long as it's not going to put you in a dire needs situation, for example, rent, mortgage, groceries, bills, transportation, these are things that you need on a survival basis. And these are things that I would put in this category. Now, when it comes to wants, these are things that you enjoy, that being eating out, shopping, entertainment. Now, in this category, I actually switched mine around personally. I actually switched it where 30% was saving and investing, merely because I had a goal and I had something that I wanted to save towards. And I would have rather put the majority of my money into that category. And then when it comes to my enjoyment, I actually just lowered it a little bit, because at the end of the day, as much as we are saving for something, you should still be able to enjoy your daily life within moderation. And finally, for the last category, saving and investing. Now, that's entirely up to you what percentage that you want to put it in. Standard, they say about 20%. Like I previously said, I switched mine around where my saving and investing was a 30, and then my wants were the 20. And that's purely dependent on you. It really depends on where you are in life. For example, for some of my clients that are much younger, still living at home, I always say, try to use that with your discretion. Try to max out your saving and investing the best that you can, because you can still enjoy your daily lives living at home because you don't have major obligations like rent or mortgage. So try to be mindful and adjust it based on how it makes sense to you. Let's use real life examples because I always feel like it sticks better that way. And let's break everything down so it makes sense. Say your take home was $3,000 a month after deductions, and you want to apply the 50-30-20 rule. This is how it should be structured, and this is what it should look like. So 50% of that 3,000, 1,500 should go towards your needs, 900 should go towards your wants, and $600 should go towards your future. Now, if you compare that with somebody else that decided to go with a 60-25-15 rule, the needs would then look like 1,800, the wants would then look like 750, and then your future would look like 450. Now, before we continue, I just want to stop here and place a lot of emphasis on this. Could you imagine not doing any of this? You have $600 that you could be collecting on a monthly basis that would then turn into $7,200 on a yearly basis. We really got to start taking control about where our money is going. Why? Because you could easily take that $7,200 a year and put it towards an index fund that will really work for you. Imagine in a 5-year span what $36,000 would really look like at a 7% return. Just imagine what you could do if you were proactive today. Take that saving and investing of that 20% that you collect from your paycheck and putting it in an index fund on a monthly basis, how much it could really pay off, especially if you're trying to build generational wealth. That's the difference between staying stuck and actually building wealth for yourself. What I've noticed is that a lot of people don't have a spending problem alone. They have a direction problem. Where is your money going? And actually taking your finances by the reins and really trying to designate and take control of your expenses and where it's actually going. If your income is inconsistent, don't focus on fixed numbers. I would highly suggest focusing on percentages. So every time money comes into your account, I would suggest splitting it up right away. That way, on low months, you're still saving and you still have control. Now, for those that are experiencing high interest debt, your future category is not going to look like investing anymore. It's going to more so focus on getting out of debt. So instead of 20%, you might consider maybe putting 30% towards your debt repayment. Because remember, like I said in one of my earlier videos, it doesn't make sense to start investing, getting a 7% return when you still owe high interest debt, and that interest rate is 21.99%. So unless you're able to find an investment that can match that or even give you something greater, by all means do that. But my suggestion is try to get rid of that high interest debt first as quick as you can, and then get back onto the train of investing. So to wrap everything up, here's what you can start doing today. Look at your monthly income, split it up into categories, and just start. It doesn't have to necessarily be perfect, but try to be very intentional about splitting these categories up that make sense to you. So for example, the biggest one should be your needs, which should be 50%, because like I said, don't put yourself in a dire need situation where you are going to leave yourself with nothing. So always try to keep that fundamental bubble the same. And however you want to play your 30% or your 20% is ideally up to you. But just make sure that you have a system in place where you're telling your money where to go instead of it telling you what to do. Seeing where you are visually will actually motivate you to do a little bit better next month. Remember, once you have a plan, you stop guessing and you start building wealth.